Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name's Claire and I'm currently in Australia and with my boyfriend, and we are doing a road trip. So we are travelling from the Gold Coast, which is on the east coast, all the way right around the top to Perth, which is in Western Australia. So very exciting. If you watched my last video, you'd have seen that we'd just left Tweed Heads and we headed up to Airlie Beach and the Whitsundays, stopping off at Yeppoon and at Noosa Heads along the way. But in today's video, we are on our way up to Cairns. So we are leaving Airlie Beach and we are heading up to Cairns and making our way up there with a few stops along the way. So I hope you enjoy. If you see me looking down at all in this video, it's because I'm actually just checking this little book here. It's something that I was bought before leaving the UK. I'm not sure who bought it. It might have been my mum, I think, or my cousin. I know that somebody gave it to me as a present anyway, but it's fantastic. It's got loads of different sections in it, and I've actually been writing down all the places we've stayed at. So the free camps, the Airbnbs, all the different places we've stayed, I've been writing them down in here. So I'm probably going to refer back to that a little bit throughout this, because I think we found it quite hard to find some of the free camp places and some of the rests and stopovers, and so I thought it might be useful for me to include them in here so that if you guys are doing the same route as us, you can check them out and hopefully use them just like we did as part of your journey. And the great thing about the free camps is that obviously it saves quite a bit of money, particularly if you've got your own vehicle, and a lot of them are really nice as well. But no, this little book's really cute. It's got loads of different sections, so it's got different ones, like ones for contacts, personal details. It's also got ones for like travel details, so all the different places we stayed, all the details, and then it's also got a section that's like journals as well. So I've also been trying to write down all the little places that we've been to and what we've done in each place as well, just so I have like a bit of a record of all the fun things that we've done, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip for me and I want to remember all the things that I've done. I'm not the sort of person that really does scrapbooking or anything like that, but I am quite sentimental, and so it's quite fun having all of these little notes and memories as well that I can refer back to in the future, because one, it's useful for when I'm making these YouTube videos. Again, I'm doing this as like memories for me for in the future, but also I think at some point I want to make some photo albums of everything, and so it'll be really nice to sort of know where it was that we stayed at certain times. So yeah, that's just a little side note, and let's get going with the video. Once we left Airlie, we actually decided that we were going to go and visit Cedar Creek Falls, which is fairly close to Airlie Beach and the Whitsundays area. And we were quite excited because looking on Google and Instagram, it seemed like there were these huge waterfalls and a big pool at the bottom that you could go swimming in. However, unfortunately, I don't think they'd had a lot of rain recently, and when we got there, the water was pretty stagnant. There was a crazy amount of mosquitoes. So we didn't end up going for a swim. We just had a little wander around the rocks, went to the top of the waterfall because you can actually walk up around the side. So went to the top, had a look around, and then popped back down and made some lunch. But the thing that was quite funny was there was some huge chickens and cockerels roaming around everywhere, and they were really curious. So we were trying to cook some food on the back of the van, which is the first time we'd actually cooked for lunch in a random place. So that was really fun, but we were getting bothered by these chickens the whole time. So having to be quite careful because they were like jumping up on things as well, and we were worried that they were going to jump up on the stove top. So anyway, made some lunch and then headed on our way. The next stop that we were going to was actually to Townsville, but that was quite a drive, so we didn't go straight there. So we actually stayed at a little town called Home Hills, and this one was incredible. I'm just looking at my book here, and we stayed there for 2 nights, and this was completely free. This town had a whole street at the back of it where you could just park up for the night. I think you could stay for a maximum of 2 nights, so like 48 hours. But they had, it was like being on a campsite. They had an area in the town that was specifically for people that were traveling, and they had hot showers, they had Wi-Fi, they had a kitchen. It it was amazing that they just had this all for free in this town. The only downside was that it was crazy busy, so if you didn't get there before a certain time, it was just full. So I would say we probably arrived at about 4:30 and it was pretty packed. Like, we managed to find somewhere at the end of a row on that first day, and then we decided that we were going to stay there for an extra day and just chill. So definitely, if you're going to use that, try and get there a little bit earlier. And the only other downside was it was right next to a railway line, so it was a little bit noisy, but in terms of having somewhere free to park that felt safe, that had all the amenities and everything, was incredible, like so fantastic. So we stayed there for 2 nights, a really nice little town, and just sort of getting used to being on the road, living in the van, just chilled, watched some films, did some puzzles, just sort of explored around the local area, so that was really lovely. And then we headed up to Townsville from there, and Townsville was huge. It was like a really big shipping port, and I have to say we didn't really explore it that much. Our main reason for going there was that we wanted to go to Magnetic Island. We drove straight to the ferry port to go and get the ferry, and we decided that we weren't going to take the van across with us. We were just going to go for the day because it was quite expensive if you wanted to take the van, and it was a fairly small island and it had good public transport. So we just decided, do you know what, we're just gonna go across on the ferry. The only thing was we were running a bit late. We got stuck behind a really big tractor on the road and we couldn't overtake. There's a lot of cane fields around there, and that was another thing that was really cool. They've got all little railway lines running through the fields that are for the cane trains, and they collect all the sugar cane and take them to like the local distribution sites and factories. But yeah, we got stuck behind a tractor that was going really, really slow. So we literally arrived at the port, parked the car, paid for the parking, ran across, got our ticket, and we got on the ferry and the ferry left. Like, if we had been 1 minute later, we would have missed it, which, yeah, was a little bit stressful, but we made it. And it was a really gorgeous ferry ride, really beautiful. Probably about like half an hour, 40 minutes to get across there. And once we arrived, they had loads of buses that went around the island, and they were really cheap. I think we got a day pass. I don't remember exactly how expensive it was. I'll put it on the screen here. Great public transport. We hopped on the bus and it took us round to a bay on the other side of the island, and we just had a little wander around. It was very, very warm though. Like, it was pretty hot that day, so we actually ended up hiding in the shade for a little while, having some lunch. And then we'd heard that there was a place that you could see koalas in the wild, and so of course we had to go and find the koalas, didn't we? So we went up to this lookout point at the top. Okay, I'm looking at my little book here. So we went to Nelly Bay and we got the bus, which was $1 for a day pass. $1, how crazy is that? And then we got the bus round to Horseshoe Bay, and then we did the fort's walking track. So that was where we saw the koalas, and they were so cute. Like, we set off and it said on all the boards that there was koalas, so we were literally walking with our heads up like this, like looking for these koalas the whole time. And we must have walked for about half an hour before we got to the area where there were the koalas. And it was really cool because people had left twigs on the floor, so in the shape of like an arrow. So there'd be one like this and then like a pointy bit like that, and if you looked at the floor, it was pointed towards the trees where the koalas were. So we saw quite a few. I think we saw probably like 5 or 6 in total. We saw a couple of them on their own, sort of asleep in the trees, and then the cutest one was, there was a mum with her little baby and they were in the tree, and it was adorable. Like, that's the first time I've seen a little baby koala. So yeah, very, very cute. And then we decided that we were going to keep doing the hike, and so we walked a bit further round and right up to the top, and it had sort of old gun emplacements and things like that, but the view was incredible. You could literally see for miles and miles and miles, and it was just so beautiful. Like, I could genuinely live somewhere like that. It was so close to the mainland that you could just hop on a ferry, go do your food shop on the mainland, and then come back out again. Like, I would love to live somewhere like that. It just felt like so peaceful and just a really, really nice place. So anyway, we finished doing the forts walk and went back to get on the bus. Unfortunately, we just missed the bus, so we were sitting there thinking, okay, we're gonna have to wait a little while now for the next one. And this lady drives along, and she's a local, and she's like, oh, you guys going anywhere in particular? Do you want a lift? And so she just gave us and this other guy a lift back to sort of like the main town area, which was really, really lovely. So that was nice. And then the next place that we wanted to go to was to see the rock wallabies. So she recommended this area where they had the rock wallabies. So that was towards Jeffrey Bay. Again, just checking my little book. But yeah, Jeffrey Bay, and we saw the rock wallabies. They were just hopping about and just hiding in the sheltered area, which was really sweet. And she'd also said that there was a snorkeling trail just next to it there. So we actually went snorkeling just off the jetty there, and sort of snorkeled out to the boys, snorkeled out to the buoys in the bay, and had a little look around. The only thing was that it didn't have a stinger suit and it was quite cold, and I didn't have any flippers. Myron had flippers, but I didn't have any. I just had like the snorkel and mask, and we were snorkeling out there, and all of a sudden all I could feel were these like little pinpricks all over me, and I realised there must have been loads of tiny little jellyfish in the water, and I was getting stung by them. And so I decided to go back in, because to be honest the water was quite murky and I couldn't see very much. So we had a nice swim, but I did get stung by some jellyfish. Like I ended up with like tiny little red dots all over me afterwards. So midgy bites plus tiny little red dots from all the little jellyfish stings. So not ideal, but it was pretty. It was nice to sort of cool off in the water because we were pretty hot and sweaty after doing the Forks walk. And then we just decided that rather than getting the bus back round, we were actually going to walk back round to where the ferry picked us up from, because it wasn't too far. It was probably like a half an hour walk. So we just sort of walked back along the beach, and we found this really cool rope swing just in the trees. I think if you've not been to Australia, one of the cool things about the trees is that lots of them have these roots that like dangle down from the branches, and they just look incredible. Like when I first got here I was so excited. I remember going to the Botanic Gardens in Sydney and just taking photos of them everywhere. So yeah, there was this really cool rope swing in the trees there, so had to have a go on that, didn't I? So swinging on the rope swing for a bit, and then we pretty much just headed back round to the ferry and got the ferry back across, and then we actually headed to another free campsite for the night. So the next place that we stayed was called Saunders Beach Park Rest Area. So this one we had to book online, but again it was right next to the beach, and it was like a little campsite. Again, it had amenities, so it had toilets, and there was showers next to the beach and things, and we literally woke up next to the beach and it was so beautiful. It was stunning. So that was where we stayed for that one, and we then headed on to the next place, and this place was inland, so we decided that we really wanted to go there, and it was called Wallaman Falls. And this was in a place called Girragan National Park. So again, we'd had to book this because it was a campsite that was in a national park, but it was super cheap. It really wasn't that expensive, and it was the most beautiful drive, like literally driving up through rainforests, and we're just on this really tall hill in the middle of nowhere, just with the most stunning views. It was incredible. And then when we got to the campsite, we sort of set up pitch, we made some food. Honestly, it just felt like such a beautiful place, and just cooking in the wilderness there was no phone signal, it was so quiet, there was no traffic noise, no nothing. It was just really, really beautiful. And we ended up making some Thai basil pork, which is one of my favourite recipes that we've been cooking while we've been on the road. And then we'd also managed to pick up some scones from a local Woolworths down the road, like on our way up. So we had scones with strawberries and whipped cream, so bit bougie, but it was really nice, really special. And then we ended up just watching the stars because, like I said, there was nothing around for miles, and the stars were just incredible. Like, I don't think I've ever seen them so clear before. I'll try and insert some pictures here, but they honestly don't do it justice. It was just insane. It was just amazing. And we ended up seeing quite a bit of wildlife as well. We saw I think it was a bandicoot, so like a little kind of rat like creature. I'll insert a picture of it here because the video I have is not very clear, but one of these, and it was just sort of snuffling around the back of the van, which was really sweet. And then yeah, went to sleep, and then the next day we actually went to Wallaman Falls. up doing a hike, and Wallaman Falls, if you don't know, it's like one of the biggest waterfalls in Australia. It was incredible, the views were just so beautiful, and you could hike down to the bottom of the waterfalls. There was signs up saying don't do it if you're not fit and healthy because people have died, and I genuinely understand why. Like, I would say I'm fairly fit and healthy. I'm not the biggest fan of walking up hills, but it was so steep, and it was literally just like zigzagging like this all the way down, so you didn't really feel like you were going anywhere, but you were walking for quite a long time. So I reckon it took us probably like nearly an hour to get down there. And I was really glad that we'd gone later in the day as well, because it just meant that it was a bit cooler and we were in the shade. We actually saw a snake as well, which was crazy. Like, I was walking along and it scared the life out of me, but luckily it just like slithered off. I think I scared it just as much as it scared me. So luckily it was all good. But yeah, I headed down to the bottom, and the roar was just so loud, and it felt like it was raining as well because it was just spraying everywhere. But really, really beautiful. And then we headed back up again, and that was so tough. Like, honestly, I had to keep stopping all the time. I just felt like I was going to pass out, I think, because it was so hot.
Nearly there.
It was so steep. I really, really struggled with it. Like, it was not fun.
Smash it.
But we made it back to the top, and I have to say, like, the views were totally worth it. Like, it was so worth going down to see it and then going all the way back up again. I definitely would recommend it. But yeah, just make sure you have lots of water and just take your time, because I don't think it'd be particularly fun if it was crazy hot and if you have no water, because we got through, I think we had 2 bottles each, and we got through all of it. So yeah, pretty steep, but so worth it. So yeah, we stayed there another couple of nights, just sort of chilled, enjoyed the peace, and then that was pretty much it. We headed towards Cairns, and that was where we were going to meet my sister. So very exciting. I had some great few days just sort of exploring. But yeah, the most incredible week, seeing some places that I don't think necessarily are on everybody's list when they're doing the East Coast, but I would highly recommend, particularly the Wallaman Falls and just camping there. That was incredible. I absolutely loved that. And Magnetic Island as well. I would have liked to have camped there, but obviously we'd have had to take the van across, and that would have made it quite expensive. But yeah, well worth the visit. It was stunning. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this little recap, this little video. I will leave links in the description of the places that we stayed as well, just in case you guys want to camp there as well. They are all rest areas and like legal rest areas and stops and things like that. So hopefully you'll find that useful. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me in this video. Next video we will be in Cairns and going to the Great Barrier Reef, which I'm so excited about. Like, that is something I've had on my bucket list for so long, so I can't wait. I hope you'll join me in my next video, and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching, guys, and bye. Change how I'm sitting. You know, when you are on your knees and you're sitting on your feet, and then your feet go numb and like it's all tingly and it kind of hurts like pins and needles. Oh my god, too many places. So don't mind me, I'm just denumbing my feet. Oh, what's it called?